Well, we have a draft on our hands going pretty rapidly at that.
Yeah, we're gonna start things off with Leshrac Gyrocopter, Bounty Hunter, Tusk Band out. And as far as the first couple picks are concerned, Earthshaker will be the first, followed by Winter Wyvern, Anti-Mage, and then a Storm Spirit pick up. Pretty interesting start to the draft. Lena not touched by either side. Securing the Anti-Mage pick against Storm Spirit is always wonderful. Just being able to explode the Storm Spirit makes it very difficult to play against. So you have to be very aware of how you're using your mana and how you're committing into these fights. A lot of long-range initiation coming out from the Romanian side. But yeah, I think both teams will be pretty happy with what they've picked up already. Fairly open-ended as we just start out this draft.
It's a very early Anti-Mage in the grand scheme of things. Like, Anti-Mage versus Storm Spirit, you definitely want to have that matchup if you are on the Swedish side, but grabbing this hero is something that the Romanians can punish. Anti-Mage is a very slow hero. He has situations where he just can't do that much, and with the Winter Wyvern as his backup, yeah, I mean, defensively he may be covered, but the amount of offensive power he could actually apply is extremely limited right now, so it seems like Team Sweden is just going to play a rather slow game, whereas for Romania, I wouldn't be surprised to see them just amp up the pressure in a big way. Like the Bloodseeker ban out there from Sweden, should try to mitigate that as best they can.
Yeah, for sure. Maybe go with something to dual lane with this Darkseer to apply a lot of pressure to the Anti-Mage. Darkseer by himself isn't usually enough to pressure Anti-Mage, as he'll get a lot of HP sustain. Usually Ring of Health, Ring of Regen, something along those lines early, so the Darkseer's Iron Shell isn't going to bother Anti-Mage too much by himself. But if you have like a Spirit Breaker and then dying into that lane, it can be very annoying for AM to deal with. It really just depends on what that other support is going to be.
Okay, I need your thoughts on this. Since our delay is messed up, it's at 0 right now. Should I just restart everything now? Since it'll just be delayed by 2 and they'll just jump right in? I think yes.
Probably.
Okay, guys, so we're going to have to go offline for about 2 minutes. It's going to be really quick, and then we're going to pick right back up from right here, so don't go anywhere, because we messed up. Alright, guys, we should be back. You'll see this in 2 minutes, but you missed absolutely nothing, because Team Sweden was actually nice enough to not make any pick or any ban while we were doing that, so you're going to be a little bit delayed, but that's exactly how much you should be delayed. And it's going to be a Sand King, wow, from the Swedish side. Yeah, I mean, I love Sand King. I'm not going to say that I'm a big fan of the hero. Rather early, however, and now this is 2 melee heroes. This might get a little bit awkward for the Swedish side.
I get a feeling this is going to be an offlane Sand King for the Dire squad this game. It can function pretty nicely inside the laning stage. Earthshaker Fissure is not a reliable way to kill off the Sand King. Burrow Strike can bail him out pretty effectively, and Earthshaker is also going to be pretty hands-off when it comes to that bottom lane. And no matter what the laning situation is for the Sand King, worst case scenario, they'll just throw the Sand King into the woods, and he'll be able to get a fast enough Blink Dagger to where he contributes. And I think Sand King is one of those heroes that, although he's not seen super often, should probably be picked up more.
Yeah, I agree. It probably deserves to have a little bit more play. The downside of this Sand King right now is that, as you said, most of the time going to be going towards that lane. If he's not, then between him and Winter Wyvern, they don't really do a ton together. Like, as far as offensive power is concerned, Sand King really doesn't get off the ground until he gets the level 2, level 3 Burrow Strike, unless he gets boots first, but even then it's kind of weak. He needs to get a little bit of time. He needs that Blink Dagger if he's actually going to contribute and help out and apply pressure, and you really do need to apply pressure when you have an Anti-Mage on your side. So, a Dragon Knight as the Swedish 4th pick. Well, this is a pretty good counter pick to the Lifestealer that was picked up by Romania, but it seems like the Swedish draft is kind of pulling in 2 different directions.
Yeah, definitely so. If they're able to apply the pressure appropriately and get online early with the Sand King, there are some windows where their team can be very strong even without having the Anti-Mage contributing. But if you replace that Anti-Mage with something along the lines of a Gyrocopter, Bloodseeker, even a Razor or Viper, just a hero that can contribute a lot more from the safe lane, those early pushes, it would feel like they have a lot more solidarity when it comes to their draft. That said, I think I'm still okay with this Dragonite pick. It's not going to be the greatest of lanes up against the Storm Spirit, but it's also not going to be the worst. Dragonite versus Storm is pretty much a trade. Even neither of those heroes should be killing each other by themselves. And if you get a Blink Dagger up on this Dragonite or something along those lines, the initiation power coming out from the Lemondog side, we'll say, is incredibly strong with Sand King, Winter Wyvern, and DK. It's going to make it hard for this Lifestealer to move through the fights, get his damage off, and he'll rely almost exclusively on the Storm Spirit or maybe a Blinking Darkseer to move around. So, yeah, this could be pretty difficult.
It is kind of interesting to see this Lifestealer. In general, he's just never picked. Occasionally, he'll be picked up in some really, really niche circumstances, but up against an Anti-Mage, Lifestealer is not really the hero that you want. You're never going to be able to kill the Anti-Mage unless you have, perfect chain stun to follow up. Lifestealer really has kiting issues, and that's where Anti-Mage gets away. That's where Sand King gets away. Hell, even Winter Wyvern, a really just good brick wall up against that Lifestealer. And Dragonite having so much armor and okay health pool, but more armor than health means that Lifestealer's Feast isn't really going to be doing a ton. Dragonite is a very anti-Lifestealer hero, as is Anti-Mage, as is Winter Wyvern. And yeah, Romania has good tools at getting Lifestealer into the fray with, as you said, Blinking Darkseer, Storm Spirit, maybe a Blinking Earthshaker down the line. You really have to do a lot of work within the couple of seconds where you have those stun effects up with the Echo Slam and the Fissure if you're actually going to be getting any kills as Lifestealer. So, yeah, I'm not really sure where this piece fits in. I feel like they probably could have, grabbed something, grab this 5th pick. You're not going to have it banned out from you.
Yeah, and maybe pick up a different support, and the Rubik would have fit the bill and maybe made their draft make a little bit more sense. But still, Rubik is a reasonable choice here for the Romanian side. It's not going to offer a lot of damage, and that is something that they're going to struggle with. Their 2 supports are very damage light, but they make up for that in having a large amount of lockdown, which is necessary up against the Anti-Mage, and also with a good, battery of spells for the Rubik to steal, although they're maybe not Fissure level when it comes to their stealing priority. Burr Strike's amazing. Blink from Anti-Mage is a pretty reliable steal and pretty good too, and I don't know. In general, it works pretty well for them, but I think that the Sweden lineup is just a little bit better. Dazzle now is also going to bolster their armor to the point of being obscene, and I just don't see this Lifestealer being able to get off the ground, and even if he does get the farm, being able to contribute inside these fights.
Yeah, I really like the Dazzle pick here from the Swedish side. I already said the Dragonite has a ton of armor. The only thing better than a ton of armor is 2 tons of armor. Like, with the weave on the Dragonite, or weave on anyone, let's be honest, between the massive amount of armor, between the Shallow Grave, with the Embrace from the Winter Wyvern, the natural survivability, the Sand King Anti-Mage, it's going to be really hard for the Lifestealer to actually get his claws into someone, and that's kind of where the Rubik comes into play. They need someone with more disable. Like, I wouldn't even mind it if they went for even more disable, like someone like a Lion, just so that the Lifestealer can actually hit the enemies as much as he can, but yeah, it's going to really be up to the Romanian side to get off to a good start. Abuse the fact that Dazzle Winter Wyvern don't really do a ton of damage, don't really have a ton of pressure to apply early on, and then in that time frame, try to get some sort of lead.
Absolutely. Well, quickly, let's introduce our lineups on the Dire side. We're going to have Freely playing on the Winter Wyvern, Eris Loco on the Sand King, Steph Style on the Dazzle, Dragonite by E-Skills, and last but not least, Anti-Mage by Curly. And that'll be our Swedish lineup.
And for Romania, they're going to put Massacre on the Farming Lifestealer. Synergy is going to be playing the Darkseer with Illusionist on the Earthshaker. Keanu is on the Storm Spirit. Razevan, if I remember correctly, is going to be on the Rubik. Sure, I'm not too sure what that means, but yeah, a lot of these players, just with the nature of the tournament, have been, I think, floating around. I've seen Massacre stand in for a couple of teams in the past. Illusionist has been floating around, Synergy as well. Though they're mostly, I think, the old XPC Romania. Have since disbanded and kind of, doing their own thing.
Right now, they're not on a team together, so it is going to be an older lineup, and they're comfortable with these players, but right now they don't team up that often. So yeah, it should be interesting to see those old synergies come back together again.
In theory.
In theory.
Yeah, I mean,
yeah, definitely.
You do know that there are synergies on the Swedish side. I mean, they play together. It's just lemon dogs, right? I'm not missing anything. It's just actually
definitely
lemon dogs.
So. And for Romania, they have synergy, so
Oh, so you gotta weigh that synergy up against the literal synergy. But yeah, lemon dogs, not exactly the strongest team, not exactly S plus, A plus tier team. They're solid though. I think they definitely can go places. Just have to, I think, brush up their overall skill level, just bring that just a touch higher. But man, when you're going up against a team that hasn't played together for a very long time, in theory, I don't know, maybe they play together in scrims all the time or whatever, but you would think that they just have a natural advantage, but the field here is actually pretty hard. There are some teams, like, as much as I hate to say it, Team America, which is not looking incredibly powerful right now, but man, look at Team Russia, look at Team Ukraine. Jesus, like, can you actually beat that? Can anyone actually beat that? Can any real team actually beat that?
That's what we're here to find out.
Yeah.
I really have no answer for you, but on paper, they look incredibly strong.
Oh, by the way, it's for Russia, Screen God Silent Yoku Saneko. And for Ukraine, it's Resolution, Aloha Dance, Always Wanna Fly, Havos, and Funnick. So, that should be interesting. Really, really interesting. This is pretty much, I said it in some other posts, it's like the Olympics for Dota, except we don't give out gold medals, and we have a lot less slave labor.
It's all true.
Well, I think the slave labor part is true. I don't know what's going on in the admin side of things. We may have some unpaid or very low paid laborers in the back end.
Or in the front end.
Yeah, maybe it's us. Maybe we're just the slave labor. Who knows? Alright, so seems like they're just waiting for like their manager to leave or something like that, but yeah, interesting to see this Swedish lineup actually come together. I still maintain that if you're going to go for a Sand King, you probably go for him last. Most of the offlane heroes, you have the Darkseer, you have the Clockwork. Was Tusk even banned out? I know we got into this draft like a
Tusk
little
was
bit late.
first banned.
Okay, well you can't get the Tusk then, but usually the Sand King as an offlaner is not going to be touched. So I mean, it kind of worked out for them. I feel like the Dazzle, replace that with the Sand King and you're good to go. But they have a pretty slow draft involving a DK. I think the DK is probably the only thing that I'm not really too convinced on the Swedish side. Like, usually you want to have DK in an aggressive shell. He's kind of in a slower farming shell in this type of draft.
That said, if the Dragon Knight is able to keep up pace when it comes to farm, as far as late gamers are concerned, Dragon Knight can be very, very threatening, especially when the enemy side has to get so clumped up inside these fights to really pull everything through. Despite having a lot of vessels for the Lifestealer to get into the engagement, Stormspirit has to get very close to where the Lifestealer can pop out and then get all of his damage kit out. So this AoE slow, especially from the maxed out ultimate from the Dragon Knight, could be very relevant this game. So I think I'm okay with it in general, despite being not the conventional Dragon Knight draft.
Well, it's very often that we see Dragon Knights just struggle to get their farm. They do pretty well if they take all the towers, get a couple kills, get a Blink Dagger or a Shadow Blade or something like that, and then just play the tempo game. But Dragon Knights will occasionally just fall off simply because they can't be everywhere at once. They're kind of clunky just as a hero. But if you, as I said, do get that farm, yeah, Dragon Knight can be an absolutely terrifying late gamer. Up towards top lane, though, they're looking for the Anti-Mage. They see him, they have a Fissure, they have a Telekinesis, but Anti-Mage has a Blink, or I guess has the option to Blink. So they're instead just going to block off his camps. How many camps are they actually going to block off? They have sentries, they have observers. They know that there's an enemy Sand King who wants to go to the jungle, or at least wants to get stacked involved. So yeah, I would expect Team Romania here to pressure the jungle as best they can. It's not too much given their support heroes, but just make the Sand King's life difficult bottom, then follow him into the jungle. Try to shut down those levels. Try to shut down that Blink Dagger.
They don't actually block the camps on the right half side of the jungle. I don't think this blocks the medium camp, and I know for sure that it doesn't block the large camp. But what it will give them is knowledge of when the Sand King backs off to farm those stacks. And although their heroes aren't the greatest at stealing them, they very easily could contest them with just a Fissure into any sort of damage. And usually at that point, Stormspirit will have 6, and from the mid lane, you can very easily back up into that position. So it might catch them off guard, but we'll have to see if that ends up getting deordered or touched at all. Sand King right now is going to be accompanied by Steph Style into the offlane, so maybe they don't even need to fall back into the jungle.
Even if Keanu doesn't have 6 by then, Storm Spirit is pretty decent at clearing off stacks. We see that all the time, just a couple stacks being made for the Storm. It takes, a little bit of health perhaps to actually get it done, but just the static remnants, just with the Fissure to interrupt the Sand King's Sandstorm, yeah, you can do quite a bit if you're actually going to jack that camp. He's still in the mid lane, taking a lot of harassment from the Storm. He's not going to die, or at least he shouldn't die. He has stick charges, he has a lot of regen right now, but Keanu putting the screws to this Dragon Knight and really setting the pace of this mid lane. We said before that it's a kind of even-ish lane, but Keanu does have a pretty wide opening where Dragon Knight can't really do anything to harass the Storm Spirit because Breathe Fire, only level 1, doesn't really do a ton.
And his battle is going to be pretty significantly delayed since he did go for the Wand Start and the Salve and all of that, despite getting the Bounty Rune, I believe. So, yeah. For the most part, this is going to be relatively even, 6-1 compared to 4-0. I don't think anybody's super surprised about the damage trades and the CS trades in the mid lane. But let's take a look at our side lanes for a second. Darkseer, at the moment, won't be able to apply too much pressure. The lane is going to always be pushed out, and I'm not sure he's going to be getting that much experience. And bottom lane, Earthshaker doesn't feel like he's able to really contribute all that much into killing off either the Sand King or the Dazzle.
Well, unknowns to him, Sand King did have level 1 Caustic Finale, which is something we pretty much never see. So in theory, they could have gone for something, but you don't really want to test that too much. They did finally find the Observer Void that's blocking their secondary pull camp. I don't think this is, Sentry is going to block the first pull camp. No, it's not, so they should have... Okay, I don't know why this one didn't spawn. Seems like Illusionist might have blocked that, but yeah, they're really struggling to actually get these camps up, and that's working out pretty well for the Sand King right now. The Caustic Finale versus Mass Carry, only level 1, isn't really hurting super hard at the moment, but he's actually going to get Fissure perhaps. Illusionist coming up from the river. No, not going to happen just yet. Lifestealer level 3, can't really do too much. Maybe if he had Phase Boots, see if they can get that kill.
Across the board, it looks like a slight CS advantage for the Romanian side. The Storm Spirit and Lifestealer aren't really being pressured all that much, and Dragonite is starting to fall behind. His bottle finally coming out to him is going to make things a little bit easier into the mid lane, but it looks like Yano pretty much has this lane on lockdown.
Up towards top, Frigolite is doing his best to zone out Synergy, but he really can't do a ton. Anti-Mage versus Darkseer is actually a pretty good matchup for the Anti-Mage. He's one of the few heroes that could actually reliably sit in an Ion Shell and not get completely wrecked, and if you somehow get into a fist fight with the Darkseer, burning his mana is just killer for the Darkseer. So this is actually a pretty decent lane up towards top for really just to get some farm, but definitely doesn't have enough power to convincingly go for this Darkseer without significant help. I don't think the Wyvern is enough. They really do need someone else up here with a stun, but I mean, the stunners are on the mid lane. It's the Dragonite, it's the Sand King. They can't quite get it, and Eris Loco gonna get pulled back into a fissure, in a lot of trouble. Already used his Burrow Strike, taking a lot of damage, but really not enough. He's gonna get graved. He has another Burrow Strike to get out. He should not die here, and he will salve up. I mean, the Lifestealer does do an okay amount of damage early on, but if that's a Gyrocopter pick, if that's a Luna pick on Massacre, probably the Sand King would be dead right now.
Yeah, the Shallow Grave still might have been enough to save him, but the chances are definitely a lot higher. The burst damage from Lifestealer is non-existent, really, and, well, the Sand King's getting good experience, but then again, so is his counterpart, the Darkseer. Synergy is up to level 4. He's gonna have to go all the way back to base, doesn't really have a lot of health and mana to sustain himself right now, and isn't feeling comfortable with the lane equilibrium, even though he probably could stick around with a Salve and Soul Ring. He decides that it'd be better that he didn't. Winter Wyvern going to sit on the Bounty Rune up towards top lane. That'll secure the bottle refill for the Dragonite. Pretty significant here. He needs every bit of help that he can get. For all intents and purposes, Storm Spirit versus Dragonite is pretty much even at this point. 25-6 compared to 19-1. A slight advantage for Storm, kind of to be expected.
Perhaps the most surprising thing that's going on right now is, well, Earthshaker going to die in the bottom lane. Haste Rune on Step Style still kicking in. Well, that was not what I was going to say, but yeah, Sand King getting in there with the Burrow Strike. Shaker, without the Rubik, who was, going to mess with Step Style a little bit in the river, ended up paying the price. And over towards mid lane, Kiano also taking quite a beating. There are no stacks in the Dire jungle, like, at all. You would think the Winter Wyvern would be doing mostly that.
Tower is under attack.
And on the flip side of the coin, there's not very many stacks going out. The Romania jungle, right now there's just one stack in their large camp. All of these have been spotted out, but maybe after the 7-minute mark, they'll feel a little bit more comfortable to back off and stack. Maybe they expected the wards to be placed down inside the large and medium camps, so yeah, who knows. Either way, that is going to very heavily hurt their Sand King, most importantly, when it comes to his income. But since he did go for this point in Caustic Finale, his ability to farm those stacks is pretty limited at this point.
Well, Sand King is just going to be sandstorming right now, and Massacre can't really do that much against it. He has only gone for 1 point open wounds. The amount of control that was in his lane, that's fine. It seems like he, well, where's all his gold, actually? He just had, like, 1,400 gold, and there's nothing on the courier. What happened?
Where did it go?
Well, Synergy's
Midas recipe. I had no idea where he hid it, but it was under tower.
Oh. Of course. Why didn't I look under the tower for his items? I should have. I was going to say he was going to go for Midas until I didn't see anything in his inventory. But yeah, Massacre is just going to try to get that acceleration. Lifestealer with Midas. One of those heroes that benefits quite a bit from it in the fact that his attack speed really is relevant when you have that feast. He is going to be a pretty, powerful late game hero, but more powerful than a Battle Fury Anti-Mage. Again, that's all kind of up in the air. I think even a Lifestealer with a farm advantage over an AM is not really on equal footing.
Yeah, it really depends on the bashes in that matchup, and Yeah, Lifesteal probably has to have a bit of a lead. I think the Midas is still nice. Getting extra levels up for your Lifesteal is pretty relevant. Oop. Storm Spirit going to be power farming up through the woods. We'll zip through these medium camps, but all while that's happening, Dragonite's getting some chip damage on this tier 1 tower, and almost is able to take it. Zip forward with the Fissure, landing onto 2. They can't quite stick on the Dragonite, but at least they'll get Free Lead, it seems. With one more Remnant, they will. Fade Bolt over onto E-Skills. He was completely walled off and now lifted up under the tower. E-Skills is taking a long time to die, but it looks like he probably will. They just need a little bit more damage. They don't have it. With the Dazzle, they'll look for the turnaround. Heal Bomb, Illusionist barely survives. One uphill miss is all that they need. Dragonite gets him with the tick damage. Shallow Grave maybe a little bit early, but E-Skills will survive. Looking for another Dragon Tail, this time on Raised Van with the Heal Bomb on the creep wave with Breathe Fire. That'll be enough. Now Keanu's very low on mana. He'll have ones that maybe can destroy an auto attack, and will succeed in doing so. And we'll get back under his tower, but 3-1, that trade favors the Dire side quite significantly. Now the tier 1 tower probably will fall.
Alright, Team Sweden can be very happy about that one. Dragon looked to be in really dire straits there. He's gonna take another fissure, but he will be fine. Magic Wand, a great item on Dragonite. You know, there's not really a ton of spam going on his lane. Storm Spirit does do it to some degree. They will also clean up the tier 1 mid lane tower, but when you have so much armor, when you have so many tools to protect your health pool, then the Magic Wand just gets that much better. That really baited the Romanian side to go in way too far. Earthshaker was only level 3 at that stage. Rubik only level 3, I believe, at that time as well, so Razevan couldn't really tank that many hits. Whereas Dragonite, he could tank everything all day long. That's pretty much what he does, especially when he has a Dazzle behind him. So much healing being dumped into this already tanky hero, and it seems like Team Romania got baited into a fight they really couldn't get away from. So E-Skill going to collect 2 kills off of that, and the tower to boot. This Dragonite off to a pretty good start. Looks like he's actually going to be going for drums, so no, Shadow Blade, Blink Dagger Rush, or anything of the sort. Not too late for that, of course. You could always get it later, but he wants to maybe just go for pushing right now. He does have another Dragon Form in just 5 seconds, and with teleporting down to the bottom lane, looks like they want to take another tier 1.
Despite being left alone, both of the safe lane farmers are now going to have a bit of a difference in their experiences. Masquerade is probably going to be forced out into the woods. I don't really see them being able to convincingly stop this push, especially since Darkseer is going to be farming in the enemy jungle right now. I'm hoping for stacks, but there's only one to be found. I'm not sure if he can even snag that. He'll TP the Winter Wyvern, everybody but the Anti-Mage is down here to take down this tier 1 tower in the enemy safe lane, and they should be successful. There just isn't a good angle to initiate into the Storm Spirit. Does he have a TP? It is available, and he could look to engage. He's going to TP to the tier 1 tower, but this is a hard fight for really both sides. But now TP into the tier 1 tower. They're going to invest into the Storm Spirit, zipping straight in onto E-Skills. Very tanky target, and with the Cold Embrace, he is going to be sustained, but now left alive by the rest of his team. Lifted up, and well, they'll kill the Sand King onto the backlines. He gets the Bro Strike off, but hardly going to be super relevant. It's Mage looking for the Mana Void, going to connect onto pretty much everybody. Kills off the Storm, and a couple more auto attacks onto the Lifesteal. That's going to be enough. And with that, 3 for 1 is the exchange. Krilly collecting huge, and it's not over yet. They'll blink forward for Razevan with that Splinter Blast connecting heal, and 1 auto attack from Krilly. It's 4 for 1. An absolute disaster for Romania.
Team Sweden bringing everything together there. You don't expect an Anti-Mage to come in and do that much damage. Mana Void onto 3 heroes on what I think was an empty Storm Spirit mana pool, or if not completely empty, mostly empty. Yeah, that hurts, even though it's only a level 1 ultimate. That in and of itself, but also the attempt for Romania to try to kill off the Dragonite, you could see kind of where they're going with it. Like, if you kill off the DK, what is Sand King going to do? What is Dazzle into Wyvern going to do? They don't really have that much damage once the DK is actually down. They have, maybe the ability to escape sometimes, but Dragonite really was the linchpin there for the Swedish side, but man, he was embraced immediately. And if you look at the magic damage coming out from Romania, well, it's a Fade Bolt that's level 2, it's a level 3 Fissure. Definitely not enough to cut through a Dragonite's entire health pool, especially not with the Dazzle and a Winter Wyvern healing him up. So they kind of need to kill off E-Skill, yet they also can't kill off E-Skill. So what do you do in that situation? You just get baited and you end up dying.
And even more than that, the minus armor or minus damage coming out from the Breathe Fire made it very difficult for them to get any right-click damage off onto him either. It really is just kind of a losing battle. They try to ignore E-Skills after throwing their first barrage of spells onto him and going to the backlines, and it succeeds in killing off the Sand King. But yeah, they really wish they had a support that could offer some amount of damage. Ideally, replace Rubik with Alina, but that's hardly ever going to happen. But just anything, really. Their damage is Fissure and Fatebolt, which is far from impressive. Tier 1 tower up towards top going to be taken out by the next ultimate from the Dragon Knight, and these Tier 1 towers are falling so very fast that the control offered to the Romanian team is next to none. I don't really see how they get this major item up on the lifesteal. He's going to be working towards Armlet, but he's only halfway there.
It's a really cost-effective item, but Armlet is not going to do anything up against this Cold Embrace from the Winter Wyvern, and going to do very little up against the massive high armor of the DK. Teleport down towards bottom. Looks like that's not actually going to result into anything, but Eris Loco, he's getting a lot closer to his Blink Dagger, should have that one in just a few minutes, and that will be a very fast timing. And speaking of fast timings, Krilly also has his Battle Fury already completed. That was an 11-minute Battle Fury. Extremely fast for any hero, so yeah, this we decide they're getting all their big items up, they're taking the objectives pretty much like clockwork. I don't know if they're necessarily powerful enough to just straight go for the tier 2s, but it definitely is quickly approaching that spot. Or they could just sit back and use this advantage to have safe space for the Anti-Mage and Dragon Knight to farm and then actually get to that late game stage with both those heroes.
Dragon Knight does complete up the drums. I thought he might just sit on a casual Bracer and have finished up a Blink by now, but regardless, is halfway towards that initiating item, or maybe he just decides to go for a BKB and become actually unkillable inside these fights. If he has Magic Immunity, I don't see them killing off E-skills, or also Assault Cuirass just straight up could be an option. There really isn't a bad choice for the DK, but right now they're going to be laying in wait for Mascari. They open up with the Burst Strike through the trees. E-skill's going to lunge through with that Quelling Blade. Epicenter on a Mascari. He'll be able to infast and heals up quite a lot. Turning on the Rage, turning around on Eris Loco. Going to drop the Sand King low, and they will be able to secure this kill with one more auto attack. A good attempt coming out from the side of Sweden, but a very hopeful one at that. They needed just a little bit more damage, anything really.
That was a pretty kick-ass concept for a gank, though. Just wait in the trees, chop through, chain stun him almost perfectly. Unfortunately, just not enough damage there. Keep in mind, both sides don't really have an abundance of damage. That was even with an Epicenter, but, you know, trying to fight through that Infest for the Lifestealer, you can only get so far. So Mascari gonna get a kill, and a much-needed one at that. The Sand King was very close to his Blink Dagger when he went for that. That would have given him his Blink Dagger if he was able to get that kill, but unfortunately just a little bit delayed off of it. But man, still, it's not really a terribly huge deal for Eris Loco. Like, even if he did grab the Blink Dagger right now, it would still only be a level 2 Burrow Strike, and that's not exactly a super impressive skill. I want to say that if he had level 3, level 4 Burrow Strike there, it would have for sure been a kill on that Lifestealer.
Yeah, probably. The point in Caustic Valley might be hurting him a little bit, but regardless, I think the game state doesn't change too much. Racevan up towards top, going to be taking a couple of shots from the Anti-Mage, but not going to be lethal there. The Rubik is just getting some experience, and he has found himself level 6. Blink has been stolen, and with a Blink lift initiation, maybe they can find a couple of pickoffs, but it's going to be so hard. Right now, the vision coming out from Sweden is enough to help out this Anti-Mage, and previously they also had a very aggressive vision ward inside the enemy jungle.
Well, it's not going to be in the jungle again. It's actually going to be a pseudo lane ward here for the Dire. So, yeah, Sweden looking to just lock down the map. If they see where Romania are, then Anti-Mage and Dragon Knight will keep themselves safe, keep themselves farming. Power Tread's already complete with another 1,000 gold to boot on Krilly. And Anti-Mage so far has not had to worry about, well, anyone. Like, he's been just killing heroes when they present themselves to him, and otherwise just sitting back and farming. We have a smoke up now for heroes. Seems like there's Ion Shell on Lifestealer. Does that actually stick even if you're infested?
In the meantime, take a look at Dire's Ancients.
Well, that's unfortunate. That would have been kind of broken to see, but I don't really know if they're going to go this deep. I don't think they're going to find the Anti-Mage.
Nobody's really there right now. They're farming up a 6 stack of Ancients for E-skills, a huge amount of gold for the Dragon Knight. And it's going to be his fresh Blink, and then like 800 gold on top of that. It's pretty absurd.
Close to 1,000, in fact. So Dragon Knight's ready to initiate. And this is the correct move, I think, for the Romanian side. Like, they really do have to use this Lifestealer since he did grab that Armlet for something right now. Armlet is a great item the earlier you get it. The longer you sit on it, yeah, it still does its job, but it's a little bit less impressive compared to some other items that you could be going for. So going for the aggressive plays right now seems to be the correct move. The problem is there was just no one there, and now smoke up from E-skill and Steph's out. They're going to run to Mascari. I don't think that's a kill that they could actually get, but blinking in for Keanu, that's definitely possible if the Burst Strike lands. Ball Lightning not in time. With Sandstorm, Dragon Knight will get the kill. Mascari, he knows that he is in trouble right now. He'll Rage TP out, taking absolutely no chances. And it looks like he will stick the landing, but Illusionist, okay, he's going to be just fine. Blink Dagger on Sand King and DK. That's really tough to deal with. I don't care who you are.
Yeah, absolutely. And the Storm Spirit just isn't getting enough to where it feels like he's a super huge threat. Right now, he is sitting on a good amount of net worth, and it looks like he's going to be going towards that Bloodstone build. And although it's usually a pretty good build, he's just not getting as much as the Dragonite and the Anti-Mage. In fact, the DK is the highest net worth in this game, mostly because of that Ancient stack.
And a lot has to do with the 303 score, the fact that
yeah.
he's just refusing to die, because that's just what Dragonite does. He just doesn't die, especially when he has two super defensive supports behind him. Soon to be a Glimmer Cape, maybe not super soon on Friggly, but eventually a Glimmer Cape on him, already Medallion on Dazzle. I don't even think you put it on E-Skill, probably that's just too much armor on that one target. You probably spread the love a little bit, but Krillin now has his Vlads up with Power Treads, with Battle Fury, and still he's working up against absolutely zero pressure. It just seems like the Romania side don't have as many heroes as the Swedish side. Like, Darkseer has his mech, the Storm Spirit has his point booster, which is not exactly where you want to be, but for the Darkseer, I mean, he is pretty well farmed, all things considered. At least the farm is translating into useful items. What do you do with this mech? Like, can you actually go for a push? Probably not. You have to keep trying to go for ganks, but if you're going to try to gank people, there's 3 blinkers on the enemy side, and the other 2 heroes that don't have blinks are expendable supports.
And also very defensive supports. Killing them individually is going to be difficult. Another Infest is off of cooldown. Kiano has a Life Stealer in cargo. But actually finding the skill is going to be hard. It's on the E-skills. They're going to open up with the Armlet. They're doing a good amount of damage, but Winter's Curse is going to be turned around onto Kiano. Vacuum's going to delay a little bit of damage. Will buy Storm Spirit time to zip out of there. But that was supposed to be Romania's gank. They were trying to kill off this Dragonite, and if they had a Blink Dragon Tail, they're going to go in for more, blowing up the poor Rubik. It's a 1-for-1 trade. Earthshaker does get a kill onto the Sand King down towards bottom, and that's very important, but the fight's still not over yet. Dragonite's going to chase him forward. Double damage rune up and ready. Masquerade will look for the Rage TP. Is the Rage going to last long enough? It will. He won't be able to get off that Dragon Tail, but still the tier 2 is going to be under some heavy pressure. I didn't see how Sand King died, but Echo Slam on cooldown, and Earthshaker is going to outplay the SK a bit.
Yeah, it just seems like he walked right into an Echo Slam. I don't think any other thing would get the kill on that Sand King. But that was actually a bait there from the Swedish side. They had an Observer Ward that was perfectly spotting the Storm Spirit. I think it was perfectly spotting him. Piano's going to jump into E-Skill again, but this time he has a lot of backup. Stun is there. Wall is deployed. E-Skill is going to get graved up and embraced. Not actually healing a ton, however, because of the Ion Shell. He might actually finally go down. They need to kill off this DK. 60 HP. He's going to slip away for a little bit. Needs to get the blink out. Oh my god, he's going to get away. Now up to 200 HP, but that's so much effective HP with the hero that has over 30 armor synergy. He's going to try to chase forward, but he just can't do it. Dragonite is immortal, guys. Like, confirmed, will not die ever. And now with an Invis rune, they're looking to turn things around. They have the Blink Dagger, they have the Epicenter on the Sand King. They just need a target, and there is the target. It's Mass Carry over towards the mid lane. Blink Burrow Strike? Well, Blink Dragon Tail, that's just as good. Splinter Blast is there with the Burrow Strike. Mass Carry down. And Team Sweden grabs another kill, and E-Skill, casually back up to full HP. No big deal.
The amount of sustain they have is absurd, and as you said, more than 30 armor in the middle of that fight with the weave applied to the Dragonite. He's almost unkillable. They just don't have the magic damage appropriate. They got him low, sure, but that's probably the best case scenario, and getting him low the second time is going to be even harder. He's working towards an Assault Cuirass, buys the Hyperstone, has enough gold for the Plate Mail should he want to pick it up, and now they're going for Roshan. This is going to be a second life probably for Krilly. But all of the stars seem to be aligning for Sweden. Right now, we already kind of talked about how the Lifestealer needs to be a little bit ahead, but making it even worse is the fact that he has this Midas in his inventory that's not allowing him to get those major items to compete. His effective net worth is only of about 6,000, and a lot of that's tied up into this Mithril Hammer that won't be upgraded for a long time. So, yeah, this is going to be a very uphill battle. I think the timing window for the Romanian side is closing, and very quickly, too.
I mean, the scary thing is that, for the most part, Team Sweden hasn't even been playing with their Anti-Mage. Like, he's been involved when the enemy team kind of comes to him, but it's pretty much just the other 4 heroes. And usually I wouldn't place money on a Dragonite, Dazzle, Wyvern, and Sand King to just completely wreck the enemy side, simply because if this Dragonite falls, everyone else falls pretty much immediately afterwards. But, man, you have to kill off the Dragonite for that to happen, and E-Skill, now being so far ahead, is going to get even further ahead with this Assault Cuirass. Like, the Anti-Mage hasn't even shown his face yet. He has the most net worth in the game, and it seems like even without that hero being involved, Sweden is in a pretty good spot just 4v5. So they really need to do something. They're going to try to go for Aeris Loco up towards top. They do drop the Sand King again, but Sand King dying a couple times, I'm pretty sure Team Sweden don't actually care about that. As long as their DK and Anti-Mage are surviving, and they are.
The good news for the Romanian side is to get a tier 1 tower after the fact. That's some much needed gold for them, but looking for mass carry. E-Skills is primed and ready with the blink. Right now they don't have vision of the life, so he's playing around the fog of war. They're going to zip away with the Storm Spirit. It looks like they've successfully evaded detection, although the Dire Ward spotted out the retreat of the Lifesteal. They're going to chase forward for Illusionist. They'll burn a lot of Earthshaker's mana, and Anti-Mage commits for this. They'll walk over a Remnant, blink forward, breathe fire. They'll probably need to commit a Mana Void or just keep on chasing. An Illusionist stops, looks for the Enchant Totem, and will go down. A long chase, but it's unanswered because there really isn't a good answer for Romania there.
Yeah, like, what is the worst scenario there for the Dire side? They get Lifestealer bombs with 2 heroes, but then they have the Dragon Knight there. They just turn things around and they kill everyone. So there is no bad scenario there for the Swedish side. They know that if they chase for the Shaker, nothing can actually go wrong simply because the enemy heroes pose no threat. We now have a gem being picked up on Steph Style, Yasha completed on Krilly. You know, the Observer coverage for the Radiant side is kind of there, but it's all in the Dire jungle. This is vision, but it's not actually super useful vision for the Radiant.
Yeah, it's going to be very difficult for them to find any map control. And in exact contrast, take a look at the Dire's vision. They have just a straight line of wards that are going to make it almost impossible for the Anti-Mage, or for the Lifestealer, excuse me, to get out and farm. And the Anti-Mage is going to feel very comfortable moving around the Dire's woods and really has no fear at all. Even if he dies once with Aegis of the Immortal, he probably won't be dying the second time. It's have to commit like their whole kit of disabling spells to kill him off once.
Mass carry, he's going for a Desolator. It's so slow compared to the pace of Krilly's farm compared to E-Skill's farm, who should have the Assault Cuirass completed. Yeah, and there's also an Ultimate Orb there for Krilly, so looks like Manta Style is on the docket. Once AC and Manta Style come up, just the timing of those 2 items, which should be very close together, means that they can probably go for the very least these last tier 2 towers and someone ping them out. So it does seem like Team Sweden knows what they want, and they should be getting it as well. I, again, don't really think that Team Romania can actually put up a defense here. Darkseer only has level 1 wall. Maybe if that was level 3, they could actually mount some sort of defense. Since stealing an Anti-Mage Illusion, stealing a DK with the Assault Cuirass is actually pretty darn good. It just doesn't seem like it's good enough, especially with Raise Van getting wrapped upon. He's going to get tailed in the face, breathe fire, and well, E-Skill just by himself is going to grab this kill, although Eris Loco looking to steal it. Raise Van is going to get dropped eventually. Sandstorm is not going to save you there. Now Synergy's on the run. Krilly sees him, and I don't think Synergy can actually get out of here. As a Blink Dagger, he'll have to blink into the trees, and he will blink to the south. Is there actually no one there to see him? Yeah, he's going to get away. So a slick escape from the Darkseer, but they lose the Rubik, and they're probably going to lose the tier 2 tower afterwards.
They have the Elder Dragon form up and running for the DK, or at least the cooldown available, and even without it, the pushing power is pretty significant. The attack speed really does start to stack up from Drums and Assault Cuirass, and the minus armor may be even more relevant, so yeah, defense here is going to be very, very hard. I think the best I can hope for is Mass Carry maybe getting a tier 1 tower down in bottom lane. If that's all that happens, tier 1 for tier 2 when it comes to these off-lane towers is reasonable if you're this far behind.
Yeah, you take anything you can get if you're the Radiant, but it seems like that isn't even guaranteed to happen. It's going to be fortified, and if the Dire wanted, they can teleport back and hold this tower. Alternatively, they could just go for the throat right now and blink up the high ground, really investing fully. He knows that his Aegis is going to time out soon. I have no idea how soon because, you know, the Roshan thing is still bugged, but I'm pretty sure it doesn't have a lot of time on it. Blink Dagger picked up by the Shaker. If ever there's a time to make a defense for Team Romania, it's right now, but the tier 3 tower already dropped, and now the Rax is under siege by Krilly and E-Skill, and no one else is even remotely nearby. Look at his positioning. Eris Loco getting a jump, though. By the Sword Spear and Lifesteal, they'll bring him down immediately. Krilly also taking quite a bit of damage from Massacre. They do tear that Sand King to shreds. Now Illusionist going to get right in there for an Echo Slam. Doesn't do a ton of damage, though. Now the Curse onto 3 heroes. They're going to get shredded by the Battle Fury. Krilly and E-Skill, though, dropping pretty low. Krilly still in the middle of everything. Will lose his Aegis. E-Skill needs to try to get out of here. This time he won't escape Frigolite either. And they will have to deal with this Anti-Mage. He'll get pulled right back in. Lots of damage from Massacre, and they will bring him down as well. It's a 4-for-2 trade for Team Romania. That wall, even with the Retaliation Curse from the Winter Wyvern, was enough. Assault Cuirass, Dragon Knight, stealing an Anti-Mage Illusion. It's a good deal there.
It was a really good fight for the Romanian side. A lot of that comes down to the Anti-Mage trying to cancel the follow-up initiation coming out from the Earthshaker with the Mana Void. The Echo Slam, although in and of itself wasn't that much, it forces one of the big tools that they have at stopping the Storm Spirit to be used very prematurely, and not all that relevant. Also, the Stolen Winter's Curse by the Rubik was huge at keeping everybody inside that wall and made the Darkseer's combo even more threatening. Eris Loco is going to be stunned out of his Sandstorm, pulled back by the Storm Spirit, and that's going to be another pick off failed high ground push might have just bought Romania a new lease on life, as they'll get a Blink Dagger up for this Rubik, and a lot of gold for everybody involved, really. The Anti-Mage and Dragonite are still very potent threats, but if they get caught out by the Wombo combo, Blinkin Earthshaker, and the Blinkin from the Darks here, this still could go Romania's way.
Well, Sand King is just in super sad town right now. 2-6 and 4. You die instantly picked off because you get ball lightninged, and there's actually nothing you can do about that as Sand King. Like, his positioning was good, he just was on the short end of the stick. Teleport right back in to get killed off again. Keanu with Lifestealer in tow, looking for someone else. The Sand King, if he's actually involved in that fight, if he actually does anything, I still want to say goes in favor of Team Sweden. But yeah, just being able to pick off that one target, having the Winter Wyvern and the Dazzle a little bit too far away, really was the killer there. If Dazzle was a little bit closer, gets the Grave off and Sand King, then things get a lot worse for Team Romania. But though the positioning was really good in order to protect the Anti-Mage and the Dragonite who were on the high ground, it wasn't really good enough to protect someone who's a lot softer like the Sand King. Like, you could depend on the Anti-Mage and Dragonite to survive for a very long time so that the Winter Wyvern Dazzle can actually move into position for those heals. Sand King is not that durable. He's not super soft, but yeah, compared to a Dragonite, it's not even comparable.
And just like that, Storm Spirit now has 14 Bloodstone charges. He also has a lifesteal inside of him right now. This could catch them off guard. They're going to blink forward. The Dragonite does have a Dragon Tail. Keanu isn't going to pop out the Lifestealer yet. They want to keep him inside. Eventually, he's going to be pulled out, and this is a twofer for the side of Sweden as they'll kill off Mastier. Double kill for Krilly. Lucky enough for the Romanian side, Storm Spirit's back up and running with all those Bloodstone charges I was talking about earlier, but that's very costly. Those two heroes really can't afford to be dying.
Well, Dragonite did use his ultimate very, very early, so by the time they actually get to the base, if they were going to push, he wouldn't really have that much ultimate left. So they are going to fall back, at least clean up this mid lane situation, maybe, you know, clear the jungle for another wave or something like that, look for another item. Lifestealer does have a buyback, but man, just after having grabbed that Desolator, after having taken that great fight, the last thing you want to do is buy back. I don't know what Lifestealer is going to go here. Basher, Assault Cuirass both seem like pretty decent item picks for the Lifestealer, but yeah, the Revive, the buyback, that's not what you want. Raise Van going to get jumped by Krilly. He has a Burrow Strike, he has a Blink, and it looks like Anti-Mage is not going to chase that far. What is he actually going to go for? It seems like a BKB.
Yep, a reasonable item choice for the Anti-Mage, although maybe not as smashy as a lot of other ones. It's going to make it almost impossible for him to be jumped. They might be able to get a wall illusion of him, and they might be able to return with something like a Winter's Curse if Rubik's on point with stealing the spells, but yeah, it makes it to where they don't have to position as defensively anymore with their supports and can keep the Sand King alive, maybe most importantly. The Storm Spirit's really good at getting onto the back lines, maybe blowing up one of these heroes before the fight begins. And at that point, that's where Romania have their best shot. If they don't have to be afraid of the Anti-Mage getting jumped, then maybe things will look a lot better for Sweden. In the up-and-coming high ground pushes, the match community really does make a big difference, especially when it's 10 seconds.
Have the match community. They should also be waiting for Roshan. Again, we have no idea when it's going to be back up, but at this point, the Radiant Romania can actually go for some sort of contest here. Darkseer only, unfortunately, has level 1 wall, but they have a Blink Dagger, level 2 Echo Slam on the Shaker, with an Infest Bomb and just having Storm Spirit in the Roche Pit. Fighting over Roshan for Romania is actually very, very viable at this stage. Rubik's not going to have the Burrow Strike still. He's going to have to steal something else, but Roshan is now up, and the Radiant don't quite know about it just yet, but I'm pretty sure they're going to be sticking around. Top lane is pretty much balanced right now, so it shouldn't be moving significantly in either direction. It seems like they are going to look for this fight. The Dire, Sweden, they are not going to go straight for it. They're going to get smoked upon first, though. Keanu with the Lifestealer in tow. Going to jump right into the pit. They see E-Skill, who's actually going to get baited by an illusion. Now here comes the Storm and the Lifestealer. He's all alone right now. Gets the wall dropped on him, and that will kill him off. The rest of the heroes in the bottom lane, they'll go for Krilly, who's going to pop the BKB, dodge the Echo Slam damage. He's all alone, however. Nice Burrow Strike coming in, but that's about it. Curse is going to be deployed, but that also doesn't do a ton. Krilly, though, finally getting there with the Battle Fury and the Man Void, going to kill off the Lifestealer, now looking for a little bit more. They're going to find Synergy, though he's glimmered. They still see him with the sentries. Looking for the Storm Spirit now. He's going to Ball Lightning out, get a lot of distance. Rubik also has double Blink, so they shouldn't be able to catch him out. But the Dragonite, though he does go down, gives a lot of kills to Krilly.
I was surprised that went so poorly for Romania after getting that Dragonite pick off. The Anti-Mage being able to pop his BKB before the Echo Slam comes out is absolutely crucial there. Maybe a slight misplay coming out from the Earthshaker, but more than anything, I think that's just Romania not being aware that Anti-Mage had his BKB. He hadn't been showing on the map before completing that item. Oops, Storm Spirit. Looks like Keanu wants to go for the steal play. He's going to zip up the high ground, has vision here, and oh, right now he has auto attack on. The Roshan aggroed to him. Do they
What?
know?
Why is Roshan doing that? They see him
know
now.
he's here
Krilli's gonna jump in, Keanu's gonna jump out, and Frigley's gonna take this guy. I don't think Keanu can actually do this. This is why you turn auto attack off, guys, because auto attack kills you. And well, he's gonna try to jump right in. Keanu is gonna get burrow struck though. Now Antoine is just gonna tear him to shreds. And there's the Aegis for Krilli. I think that was kind of a necessary move. You kind of have to go for that as a Storm Spirit, but yeah, that's not exactly how it's supposed to end for him.
Absolutely not. I'm not sure why he should be able to aggro Roshan if he can't actually attack him. But regardless, Dota's a finicky game sometimes, and it's going to end poorly for the Storm Spirit. The good news is he still had a good amount of Bloodstone charges when going for that play, so he's going to respawn before the potential high ground push from the Sweden side. It's still going to look pretty sad for the Storm, now only at 6 Bloodstone charges, when once he was sitting on a very hefty sum, 14, 15, or something along those lines.
He just died a couple times, and the quick respawn wasn't super relevant, wasn't able to rejoin any fights or perform any sort of defensive maneuver for their base or anything like that. So Storm Spirit now with only 6, kind of in Sad Town, joining the Sand King, I guess. Sad Town's getting quite a lot of population in this game. They're going to mobilize up the top lane, Team Sweden, with a fresh BKB now picked up on the DK. Still 9 seconds of immunity is up on the Anti-Mage's BKB. And the Radiant are going to be forced to make some sort of defense. They're going to cut the creep wave here with Keanu, but this creep wave that's existing is pretty sizable with no tier 3, not going to die anytime soon either. Backdoor protection is going to hold for a little while longer, but Krilli's just going to go for it. The backdoor protection somehow turned off. Yeah, it looks like the creeps just got close enough. Fissure's going to slow it down a little bit, but Rax is to fall. Romania, you're losing your base right now, guys. You should probably mount some sort of defense. Melee and range now down. Where's the Storm Spirit? Eris Loco is sandstorming this time, so it's a lot harder to kill him off. They're just gonna slide to the mid lane. They gotta do something quick. There's the ball lightning in. They're gonna get to the back line onto Frigley. He's gonna get blown up immediately. Sankey taking a lot of damage as well. With the Grave, he will survive for a little while longer. Krilli and E-Skill now gonna try to get onto Keanu with the Dragon Tail. They will stun him and Mana Void him for the kill. Massacre gonna try to go for E-Skill. Not doing quite enough, however. Open with the Krilli, slowing him down with the Extra Slam. They'll kill off the Dragon Knight. Krilli now gonna get chased up, but he doesn't have an Aegis. He will die once. Will he die a second time though? Steph Style, he's gonna hit with the Fissure on the backside. Raise Van is there with the Burrow Strike if needed. Just cancel this TP perhaps, and there it is. Steph Style gonna pop. Where did the Anti-Mage go? He's off to the right, and he is home free. But the Dire side, Swedish side, lose 4 heroes in exchange for 1 set of Raxes. I think that's worth it, but only barely so.
As far as the gold change is concerned, it's about a 4k swing going into the Romanian side. And although that is nice, it costs them a buyback on the Storm Spirit. So next defense, they're not going to have that major tool. And Anti-Mage is going to be able to get out of there, and Krilli is super stacked. If you compare his net worth to that of the Lifestealer, it's not even close. He's not like doubling up the Lifestealer or anything like that, but he has like a major item and a half ahead, which is enough to where that difference is huge. The next Aegis, if they can secure it for their team, Sweden will probably just be able to barrel down and take another Rax. As you said, it's a close call, but I still think that's good for Sweden. Unless this goes super, super late and Storm Spirit can get major item progression and the Lifestealer can be absolutely 6-slotted, plus Moon Shard, I don't really see them coming back into this.
Keanu was forced to buy out in that last fight, so any additional items for that 6-slotted Storm Spirit, it's going to take a little while longer. Anti-Mage also has his Basher, so he's well prepared to deal with all these blinkers, mobile heroes on the Romanian side. Still a little bit of ways to go until he has that Abyssal Blade, but once he has that, then Lifestealer, even though he did just grab an AC, is not going to be safe dueling up against Krilli at all. Right now, he could kind of do it, but with the Basher and an Abyssal Blade in the future, Krilli will just be able to manhandle that Lifestealer pretty much every single time. They're going to smoke up now, Team Sweden, and look for some poor sucker in the Radiant Woods. They shouldn't be able to find anyone, but if they don't find anyone, that just means it's a free tier 2 tower for them. And then they could slowly push the bottom lane while top lane pushes into the Radiant base, and well, eventually the Radiant are going to have to make some sort of defense.
Yeah, and it's going to be hard. They're going to infest up into Keanu. Their Storm Spirit is invised right now, and I don't think this is something that the entire team are really prepared for. This could be a very easy kill onto the backlines, but they're going to blink forward. They find poor Rubik as he's blown to shreds. So zip in, popping up Massacre. They'll look for Frigley. They'll get Frigley down. Massacre is there. Echo Slam's going to be committed, but mostly onto BKB targets. E-Skill's still taking a good amount of physical damage from his wall illusions. Epicenter in. Burrow Strike will connect on the synergy as well as Massacre. They'll Dragon Tail up this Lifestealer, but he's still taking not very much damage until the Mana Void comes through, getting a double kill for Krilli and a triple as he swipes down the the Storm Spirit, everything is falling to pieces. The only survivor is the Darkseers. He's barely able to limp back towards the base. I thought Lifesteal would survive a little while longer, but the counterpick, the anti-mage against the Storm Spirit, is going to come into play again, and now no buybacks available. This looks like it's going to be 3 lanes of Rax.
I think that might be the first time I actually see someone get a kill with the Dragon Tail. I'm pretty sure that killed off the Earthshaker there, but also kind of weird. Krilly just like stopped moving in the middle of that fight. I don't really know what was going up there. I actually thought he DC'd, but even with that, it just doesn't seem like the Romanian side had nearly enough. Eskill and Krilly still at full HP. Dazzle was able to slip away from that fight with the Ghost Scepter. He decided not to use the Grave on the Winter Wyvern. They conceded the Wyvern right off the bat, and it seemed like that was the right choice. Gotta save the Grave for the heroes that matter a little bit more. That's Eskill, that's Krilly. To a lesser extent, that's Eris Logo as well. Great vacuum, but no wall, and that means the Darkseer is gonna die. Not like it matters. GG has already been called. It seems like Team Sweden going to take game 1. Maybe they're playing together a lot on Lemon Dogs, providing some sort of advantage there.
Yeah, we'll see how that plays into game number 2 coming up next.
Alright guys, so it's going to be a win for Team Sweden. Unfortunately, they don't have tags or whatever. Can't really do anything about that, but yeah, as you said, game 2. This is a 2-game set. We're just going to be forming groups, and we're going to show Group A in just a little bit. So don't go anywhere, guys. We're going to be coming up with game 2 between Team Romania and Team Sweden in just a little bit.